Hello, lovely people. How are you? Hope you're observing all precautions around you, friends, family, and making sure that you're safe and sound. Welcome to episode 8 of Know the Happiness How with Winko Chow. I'm your host, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Winko Chow, a resilient lifestyle strategy coach from Bangalore, India. And today, I am joined by a very special guest. And there is some connect that I keep telling him. So I'll share it with you. So there is that connect of being from the military. And when I say that, what comes to my mind is also that quite a bit of mental and physical endurance, the mindset, the toughness always comes from the military if you've been there. It teaches you to overcome all kind of obstacles, and I don't have to cite examples. There are far too many. I mean, the list is very, very long. So the guest tonight that we have with us is one among them. An Irishman now based in Australia. His journey started when he experienced loss, illness, homelessness, financial stress, and breakdown of his relationship, separation from his family, on top of a difficult childhood. After the breakdown of his relationships, he's had no home and he restarted his life with his 2-year-old son. So he's served in the Irish Army, has been in the Naval Service and French Foreign Legion. He also runs his own successful business. And today, from being a strong man, he's also turned an entrepreneur and a very, on the road to be successful or may already be a successful businessman. So he is an athlete who has competed from strongman and has been a martial arts competent instructor where he has taken his challenges to the extreme level, whereby competing in 900-mile run and also competing in 2,000 sit-ups and 90 minutes worth of plank. He's all set and all geared up to break the Guinness Book of World Records for the longest time of full body contact in ice to beat the current time of 1 hour 52 minutes, which has been held by Wim Hoff, aka the Iceman. So, and he also wants to train with Iceman and his brother rather. So, following him from his series of exciting and upcoming events that are 2021, it was difficult to get him. Finally, I have him on my show. So, without much further ado, let's bring in Mr. Kealan Harrington. Hello, Keelan. Welcome to Happiness How with Winko Chow. How are you?
Hello, I'm very good. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the very kind introduction. You listed many things that I would never have thought to list, but thank you. I appreciate it.
As a matter of thought, as a matter of fact, what I was thinking was, I may not have missed out few things, and if I think carefully, I may have missed out a few. So, so during the course of our conversation, I will certainly want to know a little more about you. So,
Ah,
and so once again, it is an honor to share this stage with you, and now on the virtual world, I could say this Zoom call with you. So I
yes.
begin what I read something about you, which says, I have taken all the negative things that happen in my life and I'm using them as fuel to build a mindset that will allow me to deal with any and all of the things that life can throw at me. I do not wish to be an ordinary man who arrives at the end of his life with untapped potential wasted. Wow, that
Mm.
is that is real something, and every time I read it, it gives me some goosebumps here. so so I would want to ask you, what is that next challenge that is kind of inviting you?
Well, I guess to go back on that quotation, I've been the kind of person where I've always just known that there was something more to life than working a 9 to 5 job. And that had nothing to do with ever wanting recognition or to do anything great for the purpose of, impressing other people. But I know in myself, I like to do these things because I've had to learn to be my own person, to overcome a lot of things from the past. And in order to do that, the greatest thing you have to know is that nobody's ever coming to save you. It has to be you that does all of the work. And the moment you think you're comfortable and you've got it all sorted, life is going to throw you a curveball that you didn't see coming, and it's going to hit you very hard. And the reason why I like to do these physical challenges, for example, is the structure, routine, and discipline that I have to keep to stay in shape to do these things are the habits and psychological structures that help me maintain myself when tough life situations happen. So it's not about the events per se, it's just everything else that goes with the consistency over time that helps in one, succeeding at those events, but two, succeeding at life. So that's the reason for doing them. And the one we've got coming up next is a collaboration with me and the Hoff method, which is breaking Wim Hof's record for the longest time submerged in ice.
Mhm.
Again, these things are out of my comfort zone. And that's what a lot of life is. It's about being out of your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Everything goes smooth when everything runs the way you expect it to. So it's when it goes against your idea, your plan, your map, that's when you run into trouble, and the roadblocks can take huge effects on the path you decided to take. So like that, running was outside of my comfort zone. That's why I chose running. And next is swimming. I hate swimming. I hate the cold. I hate the ice. I've had to learn to deal with it, but it's not what I would call my favorite thing in the world. So that's the next thing.
All right. So what I'm reading here is that you know you want to be prepared when life throws a curveball at you. That's a lovely
Yeah,
one, and I would certainly resonate with that even in my story. But here, like you said, and yes, while I was doing my research, I found that you hated running, and now you tell me that you also hate swimming. And if I
yeah.
remember correctly, you were telling me that before a good interview, when you're preparing yourself, you do go out and swim. That's
That I what? I just say that last part again.
uh I said I remember, having read that you hate running, but I didn't know that
Hmm.
you hated swimming because what you told me last time was that in your preparation for an interview, you go out and swim, and then come back and then kind of get on with the
Yeah,
interview. So
yeah, yeah. So look, um, again, preparing for when I'm doing interviews, what
hmm
I said in that discussion was that I make sure that there's nothing that I allow into my headspace
hmm
to make me not be in the right zone to have the
hmm
best conversation that I can have.
hmm
However, I don't like stretching, I don't like swimming, but I do those things, one, because they are physically good and you get a physical endorphin great feeling from doing those things, and
True,
two,
true.
kind of completing something that you don't like doing, even if it's like 10 minutes, the swimming, or
hmm
going for a 2.5 kilometer run, just completing it. It just
hmm
sets the tone up here in your mind. And that's what I find good as part of the pre-interview ritual is I've got something complete, and then I take time to sit with myself, and then I don't allow the outside stuff in. So that's where that comes from. So it's part of setting the tone up here in the mind.
Great, great. So while we all have some kind of routine, it's lovely to know that uh, it's always better to push yourself to certain limit that nothing else after that gets into your mind. So yes,
Hmm.
now while we're talking about running and swimming, I do know that you had attempted this world record. It was 800 miles before you, and then you attempted 100 miles for over 9 weeks continuously. So why don't you tell us something more? Where did it all begin, and what was the tipping point? I would certainly want my listeners and viewers to know that. How did it all begin?
Sure. Okay. So, oh, so a couple things. First of all, that challenge I did,
Uh-huh.
I got my research and preparation, I got a lot of things wrong about the challenge. So,
Uh-huh.
um, starting from the start, I guess my brother, who has Down syndrome, had to go
Okay.
for heart surgery. And
Okay.
well, so this is a 10-year thing. So 10 years ago, my brother
Okay.
had to go for emergency heart surgery. They had to put in a pacemaker because his heart was stopping and it
Mm-hmm.
was coming back by itself. But
Mm-hmm.
this happened twice, and it happened then the third time, and we realized what it was. And the doctor said he must go for surgery immediately, he must get a pacemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And Dutch is the native language in my home house.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to go into the surgery theater with my brother and speak Dutch to him because even though he was sedated, he was panicking because he can't lie flat in his back. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like holding his hand and talking Dutch to him and keeping him calm through the surgery.
Mm-hmm.
So we fast forward 10 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I just suffered the breakdown of my relationship. I got back from the French Foreign Legion. I realized that life was not in the place that I wanted it to be, and I wasn't making choices that were wise. And my brother had to go for surgery again.
Mm-hmm.
And I just ended up in the same hospital with the same doctor in the surgery theater, repeating the same process. And because, for doctors, this might be common, but for me, it's not a common thing to be in surgery with your
Mm-hmm.
sibling and watching them be cut open, so it was a very reflective moment in my life. And I
Mm-hmm.
looked here at, 10 years earlier and now 10 years later,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt that life hadn't gotten any further for me in terms of passion and purpose. If
Mm-hmm.
anything, it perhaps went backwards. And I really wasn't living a happy life. And I had settled for things out of
Mm-hmm.
necessity and routine.
Mm-hmm.
So I opened my phone and I
Mm-hmm.
watched a podcast interview that came up of
Mm-hmm.
Brian Rose and London Real interviewing David Goggins.
Okay.
And David Goggins, being a well known motivational speaker now, an
Mm-hmm.
endurance athlete, and the only
Mm-hmm.
member of the American Armed Forces to be a
Mm-hmm.
Navy SEAL, an Army Ranger, and in the Special Air Forces,
Mm-hmm.
or in Air Force TACP, rather.
Mm-hmm.
So I resonated with what David had to say, how his background was, the obstacles he had to overcome. And I guess to me, it was like a light in a very dark tunnel in my life. And I just thought, there's somebody who has made it to a place that I would like to be in terms of mental strength and capacity,
Mm-hmm.
and how he overcame his obstacles. And that inspired me. So I did a bit of research. I watched a few more podcasts on David,
Mm-hmm.
and he was introduced as all his accolades. Now, he had the Guinness World Record for pull ups, but the way that the introduction was phrased, it was phrased the way Guinness World Record, and then the running was, I thought he had the Guinness World Record for holding the most consecutive ultra marathons.
Mm-hmm.
So the following flaws in my logic was this.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that all ultra marathons were by default 100 miles.
Okay.
And I thought that, and it turns out that an ultra marathon is anything above a typical marathon, typically
Okay.
like 30, 40 miles at minimum, and then
Mm-hmm.
up to whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought with back to back or consecutive, and the way it was, I understood it at the time, I thought it was weekly. So it turns out that what the accolade he was being referred to in the introduction, it was running 8 of the toughest ultra marathons every month from January '06 to like November '06 or whatever the finishing point was. So he ran a total of 631 miles in those
Mm-hmm.
months, plus
Oh,
his training mileage.
okay.
So I understood it that it was 800 miles in 8 weeks. So I said, oh, I'll run 900 miles in 9 weeks. So I really underestimated the whole challenge and got it wrong. But at this stage, I had set out that I was going to do this. The small support crew, which ranged a whole bunch of people that gave their time. It was already put out there. And I'm the kind of
Mm-hmm.
person, when I say something, I say I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. So I
Okay.
ended up running 100 miles every Monday for
Mm-hmm.
7 Mondays in a row. I'd run for an average of 22 and a half hours, up to maybe 27 and hours and 50 minutes, I think was the longest one. And there were a lot of obstacles in that
Mhm.
journey as well.
Mhm.
Planning, preparation, things I didn't think of, the routes, having to change things. Because look, doing that event, you can't do it as a one-man person. And whilst I had
Mhm.
people that kindly offered their time to help in portions,
Mhm.
to do that kind of an event, it really would have it required a lot of things that I did not have and that I was ill prepared for. But anyway, we got through it, 7 weeks, and then on the eighth week, I did two together, and I put 200 miles together, and I ran for 46 hours and 35 minutes,
Mhm.
and I finished. And that was the challenge, and it didn't go the way that I thought it would in my imagination when I thought of it. But I'm very happy that I did it. I did it for myself. I
Mhm.
did it also to raise some money for charity
All
because I
right.
thought when I'm doing this event, there's no point in doing it and just, it not prospering some good for something.
Very true.
So it had the byproduct of raising money for charity, and I'm proud for that as well.
Mhm.
And yeah, the whole situation, it started a transformation in my life that I did not and could not have imagined how I and where I would end up. But I'm very happy that I undertook it and that I am where I am now.
All right. So, that's marvelous, remarkable. While all those adjectives come to my mind, I also go back uh, on the research that I was doing with the kind of background that you had, the difficult upbringing that you had. I do not want to get into the specifics, and then your own relationship issues, your financial issues, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and living kind of almost off the land with your 2-year-old son. I mean,
Yeah.
that is really, really, I mean, it has so many questions that are bubbling up inside me. But before that, what I would want to ask you is, from that stage to running whatever miles that you ran there, and now, yes, while I truly agree with you that there has to be, I call it energy exchange. You should run for a cause. there has
Mm-hmm.
to be there has to be that rotation of energy for energy to keep moving. So what exactly is that,
Mm-hmm.
which gets you to do this, which lets you overcome all that you have in your head or in your body, and how do you move forward?
I realized when I came to the point in my life
Hmm.
that my relationship ended and all the trouble that I was in as a result of it. And when I say trouble, I don't mean trouble, but I mean the financial issues, the breakdown, just the position I'd ended up in.
Hmm.
I realized that no matter what way I wanted to cut up the pie, they were my decisions that led to there. And I had to do a big internal self reflection to understand why I made these decisions,
Hmm.
why I wasn't, why I couldn't maintain relationships, what was my contributing factor to these circumstances,
Hmm.
um, why did I make the decisions that I made that just brought me to one bad choice after the other. And when I started doing that research,
Hmm.
I learned that it's to do with patterns. I did a lot of internal work, a lot of study
Okay.
in psychology, met a lot of friends, made friends with a lot of counselors, psychologists, and just was able to really go deep on the why. And basically, you know, we learn things from our upbringing, our circumstances, our cultures, our traditions, our religions, our belief systems, our communities, and they have a huge impact to shape and mold us. And, in order to do what the bulk of people do to survive, you do what the majority of people do. But that's not necessarily the right path. That's what we did to survive as a herd and to get through things from a primitive time. And it has carried through in different forms and fashions. However, when you look at it on the scale of families, we don't do what our parents tell us to do. We do what our parents set an example of. So when my son was born, that was really what started this whole journey. I realized how unprepared I was as a father, you know. And there's a question that I ask people, and it's, do you want your children to grow up like your parents? And most people would answer, probably not. While we appreciate our parents for what they've done for us, we also see the flaws of our parents, and we've had our own resistance with our parents. So, you know, often the answer is no. And then the next question I ask people is, do you want your children to grow up to be like you? And for me, the answer to that question at the time was no. And I realized I had to make a drastic, dramatic change to my circumstances so that the pattern would change, so that what I leave behind for my son next is not going to be the same issues or complexities or psychological structures that I
Mhm.
had to go through.
All right. So, it kind of resonates with me also. I use that word which I've heard somewhere, that we're all victims of victims. And when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah, 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 yeah.
parents and ancestors, that is what I say. I kind of rattle out a story on ignorance, and this ignorance generally has come from there. So it's not necessary that one would want to emulate. Yes, if there are good things, yes, you might want to emulate them, and certainly the values are ingrained quite a bit from there, but not necessary. So I completely
Hmm.
agree with you. So while you were just talking about parents and about your son, so now I come to that very intriguing part of mine, and I'm sure my listeners would want to know, how was that experience of you living? I remember you telling me, far away from the habitat, somewhere alone on top of a mountain or a hill. What was it?
Yeah. So, yeah, that's got its own. So basically, what happened there was when I moved out, there was
Hmm.
a couple of things at play. One, I actually financially couldn't afford to rent another house and
Okay.
sustain the existing life that was going on.
Okay.
That was one. And two, um, yeah, whilst there was the option that I could have stayed with maybe some friends and people like that,
Hmm.
um, I just felt, one, I didn't want to, two, that I couldn't, three, it
Hmm.
would be more of a burden than a thing. And also, to be quite honest, those people were dealing with their own things in life and their
Hmm.
own problems.
All right.
And I just knew, in order to create the change I was looking for, it wasn't best to surround myself with those circumstances, you know?
Hmm.
And as Luda, you know, I know some people have said, oh, that's mad. I would have done this, I would have done that. And I did. You know, sometimes I stayed in the spare room at my father's, and I appreciate that that offer was there.
Hmm.
But again, you're talking about your circumstances influencing actions and
Hmm.
outcomes. It wasn't the right fit. So what I ended up doing was, I had met a man many years earlier. I trained with a Shaolin monk, and
Okay.
this Shaolin monk had left the monastery in China, come to Ireland with his partner, who is
Hmm.
a Chinese film director, and they were
Hmm.
traveling around. So I got to know them.
Hmm.
And really ironic, the world being small, they were friends with this man who lived in Ireland, not that far away from me. So I got
Okay.
to know Dan through that connection.
Okay.
So many years later, I just went to visit this man, Dan, and I got talking to him. And when I just kind of said my circumstances, so he built this cabin at the top of a mountain out of stone by hand over the course of 20 years, and a
Okay.
little wooden cabin. He was
Hmm.
retired from the United States Air Force, I think.
Hmm.
Um, and he used to go to he used to go to China, Okinawa, Japan, and spend time in those areas. So he goes, "Look,
Hmm.
I'm leaving to go to this place.
Hmm.
Want to just mind the place here for me and recalibrate." So I ended up living in an off-grid cabin that had no running water. We had to pump water in from a stream through a filter. No
Hmm.
electricity. There was no roads to get there. You had to hike 20 minutes across a mountain to get to it, and it's at the edge of a cliff.
Hmm.
So well, not directly at the edge of a cliff,
Hmm.
you know, but
Okay.
if you research me, you'll see it's in a hollow of a
Okay.
valley, but it's got
Okay.
the water nearby, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we lived there for a small period of time, but it was just enough for me to ground myself, get some clarity, sit with myself, have a
Hmm.
good think. And you know what? It's actually also been a really nice period of time in my life that I
Hmm.
can reflect on that I shared with my son. And I've got those pictures. And, you know, I remember those mornings waking up and you're looking out over the sea. And, you know, my son is holding my face in his hands. He's, you know, morning, daddy. And that's,
Hmm.
I remember those as some of the fondest times, the most simplest things. You know, as bad as everything was, that's the good. So I'm happy for that time, but I'm also happy, and I'm happy that as a man in the 21st century, I was capable of adjusting to those times, that I don't have a need for superficial things,
Hmm.
and that my value and core beliefs could really get defined and emerge from that process.
Hmm.
But I've also been able to carry that time through to now build where I am in my life now in a relatively short space of time.
Great. So every, like they say, they're very true when they say that every experience actually, has some blessing in it. You just have to be patient and look for it. I'm very sure that in those difficult times, there was that blessing of you being, all by your son and with the nature and whatever that you learned. So, what again is intriguing me, if I may ask you, you said you were almost broke. How much money you had that time?
Like that very
Yeah,
specific
yeah,
time.
yeah, yes, yes. When you were
Oh,
living,
uh, um,
huh?
man, not nothing. Like literally, there were days I would leave on Monday morning to
Hmm.
go working, and if I didn't work that morning, I did not have dinner Monday night.
Oh, and
Yeah.
now I know you won't tell me. I'm very sure you have quite a few dwellings, and you have a good bank balance. I'm very sure that about that. So
Hey, well,
and
listen, it's what I say to people. I'm not where I want to be, and life is far from ideal. However, I'm a long way from where I was
very true.
with a prosperous future that's continuously heading for me.
Very true, very true. So now, you know, uh, you're an entrepreneur, you're a businessman, and you're running a business, quite far away from your home. You're in Australia. So
Yeah.
now, I would want to understand what is the perspective that you carry of the challenges of working so far away from home. It could be in terms of whatever the systems are, in terms of your own inner circle, your support system, or in terms of certain emotions. You must be going through quite a bit still.
Yeah, well, look, there's a couple of things. So first of all, I guess the fantastic thing is the business being online. It doesn't tether me to a specific country,
Okay.
so that's something that's great. I mean, I get to meet a lot of people, and I get to travel, and like I should have already been in the States and in the UK, so that's all starting to take place now that the borders are opening.
Hmm.
So I'm only stuck here just because of the way the borders closed. And
Hmm.
again, I just had to make a decision from a standpoint of patterns and
Sorry.
circumstances, what was going to serve me best, you know?
Okay.
So that's what has me here anyway. That's what's got me based here. So I'm looking
Hmm.
at the businesses online and not country specific.
Okay.
Um, but look, whatever country that I'm in, the difficulties, I guess, is the distance and from the likes of my son, like how I had planned all of this
Hmm.
has been tremendously upset with how the world climate went in the last couple of months. I was
Hmm.
meant to be going backwards and forwards to Ireland, collecting my son, bringing him with
Okay.
me, bringing him back to his mom, things like that. So what I thought, I'd set myself up for a maximum of 6 weeks to be away from my son, and
Hmm.
now it's been 6 months, and that has been extremely difficult for me to undergo.
Very true. Imagine spending 24/7 and now you've been away. That's what I was thinking. It must be taking some toll
Yeah.
on your emotions, and uh, does it affect your morale and people around you? I mean, does it, all these challenges that you facing, and if at all it does, how do you lift yourself up? How do you lift the morale of your team?
Okay, well, look, going back to the opening part of this whole discussion about mindset and overcoming obstacles in
Mm-hmm.
life,
All right. Mm-hmm.
perhaps people don't agree with this, and
Mm-hmm.
I can only share with you my experience, and that's all I can speak from. I don't believe that having the vision in life that you are to be happy all the time and everything is fantastic all of the time. I think if you have that outlook, you have a very shallow boat in an extremely rough water, and
Mm-hmm.
you open yourself up
Mm-hmm.
for a terrible, terrible blow to your mindset because things go wrong in your life. It's not a question of if, it's when and how bad. So, my understanding of that and my experience of dealing with that has just led me to be very able to rationalize and be logical. Of course, I experience emotions, but I am able to understand them and then also put in place the rationale processes to deal with those emotions. So, not everything is easy. And especially, there's nothing easy about the process that I have been going through.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen my son for a number of months. Um, that has been difficult. My mother is currently not well,
Okay.
as I said to you as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like nothing more than to get on a plane and go home to visit her,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't because the order of operations with finances as well as the obligations that I have,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just not able to do it. It's just not an option under the current circumstances,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And understanding that allows you to deal with it. It's like looking at things from a bigger picture because it would be very easy and for me to jump on a plane and go home, pull the plug on the business and things that are ongoing. Whilst people would understand, they move on from you. 80% of the people don't care you're going through a problem, and 20% are happy it's you and not them. And then I'd end up back in the situation that I have worked so hard to change and get away from. So then I would have be able to go, yeah, because this is very tough. This is a hard job and it is a very hard business. And there's a lot of scary things about it and tough challenges and there's nothing easy about it. So it would be I'd have a really good excuse, to go home now and stop it. And then when it collapses and fails, I could get a payoff, a sympathy vote. Oh well, it wasn't your fault. Your mother was sick. And then I'm right back to square one. And we make very impulsive decisions based on our emotions sometimes and we don't look at the road too far ahead. And that's what I have learned to do because that is what happened to me. That is what led me to the position I was in before. Now I'm not going to get all of the decisions correct, and I may not even be making the right one now. However, I do know, hand on heart, that I am making it from the best place that I can with as much consideration for not just myself, but the circumstances that are outside of me, which is primarily my son.
All right.
So,
Um,
it doesn't really affect other people because I
mhm.
don't let it affect me in that way. So, I wake up, I might feel bad, I go for a run, I go somewhere quiet, I shout, I scream, I punch a tree, I do whatever I have to do to get rid of it, and then I switch and I go into mode and I stay on the path because that's what's important.
I'm very sure that people who are listening and who would be watching this would certainly, drive that value. Yes, how easy or simple would that be for them is left to be seen. But so now I don't have to ask you much about your achievements. There are so many of them. You've had difficult times, you've had great achievements. Now going further, what is the plan next? Like, where do you see yourself in next 5 years? And is there a larger purpose behind it?
Yeah. So again, I'd be talking to you for the next 10 hours if I was to tell you all the specifics.
We can hear
But
it
I
in the
have
yeah.
I have what I call my war room, where I've got
Hmm.
everything written up, what I'm
Okay.
going to do, a teardown of operations for everything, and
Okay.
I know exactly what the goals are. Now,
Hmm.
look, I might not achieve all those goals, but I've learned one thing in life, and that's I'm not gonna overshoot my highest expectations. I'm not gonna pass them out. I'll probably fall very short. But I've got stuff in my head that, you know, the people would just say is mad. I'll give you an example. One of them was I want to talk on stage with Tony Robbins, because Tony Robbins, the motivational speaker,
Yeah.
has been an inspiration to me, along with a handful of other people: Brian Rose of
Yeah.
London Real, David Goggins,
Hmm.
David Knapp Fisher. He wrote a
Hmm.
great book called Punch Failure in the Face. And he had a TED talk where he talked about not procrastinating in life. And he
Okay.
took his son on a European
Hmm.
tour, and then his son got a muscle atrophy disease and ended up in a wheelchair. And that story really taught me,
Hmm.
because if they'd have waited, they would never have been able to do the tour with their son and give him that experience. Now I'm in contact with all of those people, you know?
Oh, okay.
Um, and I never thought I'd be able to be in contact with those people. But I started with this vision that seemed mad, and now, not the way I imagined this, but by having that idea, it's kind of like, this might sound a bit crazy. I'll give you one other example. I said to myself a year and a half ago, I'm going to have a Rolls Royce. Now, not because of the car, and I want to clarify this very carefully for your listeners.
Hmm.
It's the same about the decision about my mother. I do not value
Hmm.
superficial things above
Hmm.
my own sense of being.
Hmm.
I have had Bentleys, I have had Audi R8s, I have had Range Rovers, Mercs, BMWs, M5s. I have had every superficial thing, 3-story house, underfloor heating, all that stuff. And it did not make me happy. I was filling a hole inside myself that I was not able to turn in, was not brave enough to look at why I was doing these things. So this is not about superficial things. However, the people who have a Rolls Royce, or multiple properties, or you even look at Donald Trump, or Martin Luther King, or Bill Gates, or Sadhguru, they are all very different things, right? Very different dynamics. You don't have to agree with them on a personal level, but getting to their positions, or having any one of those things, you must walk a path to get there that teaches you about 147 other things before you get there. In order for you to have a Rolls Royce, unless, look, you're lucky that you win the lottery or you have a trust fund or whatever, the work ethic, the mentality, the priority for yourself, and how you map out things and measure your failures and your success, it's a process. So it's not about, I want a Rolls Royce so that I drive around and look really cool and can tell people, look how rich I am. That's not it. It's in order what it takes to get there. When I said I want to have a talk with Tony Robbins, everything that I had to go through to make that happen, living in
Hmm.
the cabin, the breakdown of my relationship, the run, everything that took me to where I am now, I had
Hmm.
to go through that. So
Hmm.
it's kind of like having a tether to a North Star,
Hmm.
and it's not really about the star, but it's just about staying on the path and getting there. So, with that made very clear, I made that idea in my head about a
Hmm.
year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago.
Hmm.
And then Last 2 weeks ago, I end up
Mhm.
at the Rolls Royce dealership and I got to know the manager. And there's this other collaboration happening now with me and Rolls Royce. So,
Wow.
again, like the 900 miles, it's not the way I thought it would happen, but by having
Mhm.
a vision and working towards it, the other steps along the way and the pieces of the puzzle start to come together. And instead of having 4 pieces, you have 10 pieces, and it's like 1,000 piece jigsaw puzzle. So it's all steps, incremental improvements. So
Excellent.
I've got many goals and many things. For me, this business, my future vision, and the main bottom line is I want to keep surrounding myself with what I call high performing people. I used to have
Okay.
a really good conversation like this once
Mhm.
every year, and I would normally keep to myself because of the area I.
You've you've gone on mute.
I don't know what happened there.
Oh, never mind. Yeah. I lost you for 15 seconds. Yeah.
Yeah, it just went to
Okay.
mute.
Yeah.
Um, I think so. Just to recap that, I was saying
Mm.
that I want to surround myself with high performing people.
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Yeah, and my reason for that is because where I come from, the places I've lived in, the small communities, the
Mhm.
jobs that I had. Look, there's nothing wrong with them, but I felt I was living a quiet life of desperation and not really being myself in a way
Mhm.
because, afraid of what someone might say or how that would affect my business or whatever. Whereas since I started this path, oh, believe you and me, I got a whole bunch of people that don't like me. So they need to take a ticket and stand in a big, huge line, right? But I've also met incredible people, and I'm happy. And I wake up with a smile, and I go to bed with a smile. And it's not that the day doesn't throw me a curveball, but I am so much happier. Like the stress is different, the life is different, quality is different, everything is different. And I'm meeting fantastic people. And it's not about famous people, and it's not about what they have. It's just because of who they are and what they've done to get there, I can have a really good, authentic, organic conversation that's just real. It's not a, hi, how are you? How's the weather? Good. Terrible about the news on COVID. Yeah, sure. And repeat and repeat. They're in depth. They're conversations. They make changes. They're real people. It's real conversation, and it has a real impact. So that's what I love about this part of the journey and the path.
Excellent. And I'm very sure that as you grow, I grow, we grow, we would certainly be there to to have those kind of conversations always. And that also uh, kind of brings some emotion in me, where my WhatsApp status says, I believe I can. So
Mm-hmm.
once you start believing, and I am a very firm believer in energy. I'm not saying energy as in the healing process and stuff. I'm saying energy as I am, energy as I consider myself part of that energy. So when you start aligning with that energy and the subtle world, you will start seeing that things have started to change. Like for you to get a Rolls Royce. You've gotten a contract to be with Rolls Royce. So I'm very sure that in the days to come, and while you are very right when you said these are superficial things. Actually, we all get confused with the superficial comforts and happiness. So happiness is a far too long, far too bigger a thing. As a matter of fact, some time back I did a article on happiness, and I realized after 3 weeks of writing, what I could name it was gist of happiness. So it is such a huge thing. So excellent. I mean, and so what are you as a person? Where do you term yourself? Are you a perfectionist? I know you're an achiever. You're a super achiever. You have a very tough mindset. We all know that. And but I want to know, because I have always seen you, in that three piece. And like I told you, I have dressed up to, show my respect to you. Not that I don't like to dress up well, but you gave me an opportunity to, wear a tie and jacket. Yes, I was always there. And if you're a perfectionist, you know, do you really find it okay, or how is it? How is it?
Okay, let me just unravel a few things you said there.
Hmm.
So I'm glad you brought up the suit actually. So I'll give you an example, right? I've had a lot of people and they say to me, Keelan, what's up with the suit? You know, or people who get to know me, they're like, when I get to know you, I just don't imagine you in a suit. But I'll give you an example. So the reason why I decided to present myself this way was, first of all, it went against my very cheap tradesman soul to spend money on a suit. It just wasn't the mindset. But that was it. It was the mindset. It was the intention of starting as I mean to continue.
Hmm.
The second thing is, look, not everybody judges you how you look, but a lot of people really do. Okay? And it's kind of like when you go for a job interview, you present yourself in a way to best the outcome you're looking for, because there are so many things that maybe don't go in your favor. You've got control over certain things. So, how I present myself has control over certain things. Now, it's not the only way to show respect, but again, if I'm giving a talk to people, which I do, and I'm talking on a stage to a group of people, it's just a sign of respect. It's not the only way, but it's a way. Now, I'll give you the example of Rolls Royce. I got talking to the guy, and we actually had a great conversation. It was like he's there in his suit, I'm there in my suit, and I think he's got a Rolex and blah blah. Blah. But we get talking, and then whatever way it came up, I said, "Yeah, I lived in an off-grid cabin only 3 years ago." And he looked at me, he goes, "How do you mean?" And then I showed him the video. And, we got talking, and he told me he had the bench press record, and he used to do weightlifting, and
All right.
then before we knew it, we were talking about the breakdown of his marriage, and I told him about mine, and we got to know the men behind the suit. But do you know what the thing is? Because I would never have gotten into that office if I didn't show up in a three-piece suit. It opened the door, and a suit, and that's what's happened. Is it's it's part of something that I can present myself best with. Now, no, it's not the only way, because I'll often be in my gym clothes from training and I'll do a vlog or a picture. It's
Hmm.
not the only way that I expect to be seen. But if I'm trying to interact in a certain part of the world and be taken seriously, look, how would you feel if you came to me for help, whatever it is? And there's nothing wrong with what I'm going to say, but it's
Hmm.
just, you don't have to answer. If I showed up looking disheveled, unshaven, wearing my 16 year when I was 16, wearing my ripped sleeve shirts with a dragon on the front and a pair of beach shorts and sandals, and I was trying to talk to you about a seven-figure deal. Look, I'm not. People are like that. I think maybe once you get to a certain place and you
Yes.
choose to be like that,
Very true.
it doesn't matter. It's like this balance.
Hmm.
But when you're like, who's Keelan?
Hmm.
Who's Chow?
Hmm.
You're just showing up out of nowhere. What
Hmm.
do you mean you want to talk to me? I'm trying to get high profile people's attention and time to talk and to collaborate with. So
Hmm.
that's one part of all of that. So again, and it's worked in my favor. I'll give you another example. I was walking down the street, full
Hmm.
three-piece the suit, the
Hmm.
pocket square, everything, and there was a coffee cup on the ground, and there was a woman sitting on a bench right beside the bin. And I picked up the coffee cup and I put it in the bin, and she looked at me and she just goes, "Huh, I would never have thought someone dressed like you would have picked up that coffee cup," you know? And then it opened up for a conversation, and we had a good conversation, and that opened up another door. And it's so, I was at I had an, I don't know if you saw one of my videos, but at the center, there was an Aboriginal smoking ceremony, you know?
Okay. Okay. No, I haven't,
And
but I'll see. Hmm.
okay, yeah, it's in
Yeah.
a video.
Okay.
I'll shoot you the link. But basically, the Aboriginals here in Australia have had a turbulent background and past, to say the least.
Hmm.
Um, in how they've been taken from their family. There's all different things that have happened to them, and they've not had an easy time. And typically, you wouldn't see. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I remember when I was there in my suit, he just it didn't compute with him that I was talking to him, and we were hugging, and he had his Aboriginal
Hmm.
um, painting on his body from his tribal marks, and that was on my suit. And he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I'm like, "No, you know, it doesn't matter because." So again, it was one of the, it's kind of weird, but it was like a bridge because it wasn't what he was expecting, and we had a really great conversation then because of that, you know.
Mhm.
So, you know, and again, we would have had a conversation anyway, but maybe I helped. Maybe he taught me to see some things in a different light, and I'd like to think that I made him see someone in a suit in a maybe a different light, you know, and that's happened a few times as well. So that's kind of the suit. It's a tool, and there are many tools in the
Mhm.
kit
Mhm.
depending on the job you're looking to do.
Mhm.
So with regards to being a perfectionist, I like to do things well. I don't believe in half measures.
Mhm.
I am a person of extremes, and I've also learned that extremes exist with polarities, and that's
Mhm.
finding a balance as a human being in yourself, in your emotions, as well as everything else. So everything for me has a time and a place.
Mhm.
But say, for example, with the business and what I'm doing now, I view that as like having a newborn baby. It's very
Okay.
intense. It requires a lot of time at the start, and
Mhm.
you just, it's a lot of work. And then when you get to a certain point, that time, that work, and all that energy, it can be redistributed differently. And then because you've done that at the start, you
Mhm.
know, it's like when the child is 10, you have a whole different set of circumstances. When the business matures to a different
Mhm.
stage, that can all change around.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I just think uh, I like to be focused. I like to have a goal and I like to have a sense of progress. And whatever it is,
Mhm.
that's different for everybody. Just when I'm progressing and what matters to me, it gives my life meaning.
Excellent. So, so all those who are wondering that if Keelan sleeps in a suit, no, he does change. So, and he does wear the attire too. And yes, so and you were narrating this small little incident of you picking up a coffee cup, empty coffee cup, and putting it in a bin.
Yeah.
So, do you think this three piece has gotten you told us good things. Now do you think that it has gotten you into some trouble sometimes?
No, it
Okay.
hasn't. Well, yes and no. As
Okay.
in, I know that there's a segment of people, whoever they
Hmm.
may be, and, you know, uh, yeah, you get people and they think it's a corporate slick look and they think, I
Hmm.
don't know, he's changed or you know, look, I've had a couple of things said, you know,
Hmm.
or I've been messaged or I've seen them online. Look, it's like this. I learned something. There was a psychologist told me something and it has stuck with me.
Okay.
Actually, there was two things, and I'll
Hmm.
share them both with you. First
Please.
of all, the only experts in a relationship or situation are the people involved. And
Very
that
true.
is this. Because they can be so complicated and pertain to matters that are sensitive, personal, go back to whatever it is. It's hard to judge on the outside. Yeah, you can maybe connect a few pieces and get an opinion, but look, I've learned because I've been wrong myself so many times with the judgment. It's just, you know what? I am better off focusing on me, putting
Hmm.
my life in order, because I know if I start telling you what to do, I'm standing in a glass house and I'm throwing you a stone, and I am not in the position to do that. If you ask me for an opinion, I can offer it to you and just say, this is my opinion. So that thing she said about that, the
Hmm.
only two experts on a situation or a relationship are the people involved, and that's it.
Absolutely.
So I would say to people judging anybody from the outside, first of all, it might not be your place to judge. You're not necessarily entitled to know or to have your opinion validated or justified or debated with. You know, that's just not how the world works. That's first thing. And then the second thing is if the person, you, me, the man or woman down the road, if you choose to have a conversation, get to know people. I used to make judgments about people, and I still do sometimes because I'm a human being. And you kind of add up two and two, you make
Hmm.
144 in your head and you get to know them. And then it's like, Oh, you know what? You're not as bad as what I heard. Oh, wait, what did you hear? I heard this. Oh, let me tell you. Yeah, well, the actual thing that happened was this. Oh, wow. And then you realize it could be a court case. It could have been something really personal to family. I've heard it all, not to sound blunt, but someone could have died, committed suicide, been raped, whatever it is. It's just maybe not your place to know or to get involved, and it should be left to the people. So from that point of view, don't judge a book by its cover. And the other thing then that I was told was, show me your friends or the people you keep close to you, and I will show you your future.
Okay. That's very
Do you know?
interesting one. Hmm.
And that hit me like a train. Again, success is measured differently. Whatever your idea of success is, you are free to exercise that in this world. And it is just as important to you as whatever my idea is. So if your idea of success is to live without possessions and live off grid, which by the way, I think I would like to do, when I can untether myself from the 21st century when my son is older, that's great. That's your way of living. I have full respect for that. If you're happy working a 9 to 5 job, I have full respect for that.
Hmm.
For me, rightly or wrongly, I have come to know myself and what gives my life meaning.
Hmm.
So again, I've decided to take a step back from what was my whole life. Tell those people close, I need to go on a journey. I need to do different things.
Hmm.
And by choosing to surround myself with different people, and let
Hmm.
me just say again, nothing wrong with anybody, but I've gone purposely out of my way to find people that are in the position that I want to be in, ask them how they did it, find out what I have to learn, what new studies are, because self-education is the way forward in this world,
Absolutely.
and constantly educating yourself. That is the way forward. That is progress, finding out everything you can about the area that you want to work in and getting to know it so that you can have the relationships and have the expertise that attract and put you in the position that you want to be in. So from that point of view, when that whole show me your friends, I'll show you your future, nothing wrong with anybody, but I just went, if I think about it, no, I am not happy 9 to 5. No, I don't want 10 children, or no, I don't want to live in a council house, or no, I don't want to live in a mansion the size of a football field on my own in the countryside, or whatever. I just decided, no, these demographics were not for me. Maybe they might be in 10 years, 20 years. I mean, we change.
Very
It's the
true.
thing about human condition. Something always changes. But by
Yes.
figuring out what I want now and surrounding myself with it now, it has allowed me to get from one place to the next. And all I'll say is success leaves clues. It's a process. You can study it and figure it out. And the process that I attempted before this point didn't work out for me very well. So
Mhm.
here I am now.
That's that's uh, that's a lovely explanation, and although, like you said, life is a learning process, and whatever that you learn, you self teach yourself, stays with you because you have that ownership. So, and I know about you, but I want to hear it from you. What
Sure.
what makes your day? What makes your day?
What makes my day? Ah, a number of things. I really don't like running. I can't tell you that enough, right?
Okay.
Uh, but I get a great satisfaction when I wake up, go for a run. First of all, I wake up and I make my bed. That's the
Hmm.
first thing I do, because no matter what happens, I have started my day with a task complete. It's done. I've set the tone. Whatever else goes wrong, and it does, at least that's done.
That's done.
And at the end of the day, I come back to it. So it's like a good beginning and end to the day. And then I go for a run and I get it done. And whether it's 2K, 5K, 10 miles, doesn't matter. Just once it's done, it just sets me up. And then it's just a sense of overcoming. It's like, yeah, I got it done. After that, yeah, as long as I know I'm progressing towards what I feel with all the information that I have and the best decisions I can make
Mm-hmm.
is the right thing. Um, and some of those days are more challenging, and some of those days are very rewarding.
Mm-hmm.
But what makes my day is knowing that I have done all of this myself. Everything I have done myself. I have not been humbled and dulled by the state and having it look after me.
Mm-hmm.
I have not needed the approval of others. I have not, you know, whatever it is, I've just done this myself. My two hands, I have gotten from where I was to where I am. And I feel very proud for having done that for myself, not
Absolutely.
anybody else, but for me. I had so many failures in my life. I have failed more. I've got more holes in me than Swiss cheese. I have so many things that if I had them to do over again, I would do them differently.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but knowing that I have done this, nobody else has. And to be quite blunt, not a lot of people that I know could have done this. Because again, I'm not looking for anybody's pat in the back. I'm definitely not looking for anybody's sympathy. But I know how hard it was to get here. And I
Mm-hmm.
know that me 5 years ago would not have been able to do it. So seeing that change and, recognizing it and taking ownership of that as well. It's okay. Because someone said to me, Keelan, you're very hard on yourself when things go wrong. It's also okay to receive. And, so that's the polarities. You have
Mm.
to have that balance. So I have
Mm.
that balance. So on those days, yeah, that also makes me feel good and
Excellent. That's a
driving.
very very new perspective that I've gotten. That feeling of doing things and saying to yourself that you have done it. That's an excellent one. So after all this, how do you unwind? If I may put it, how do you chill out?
Yeah, well, look, I do go for a walk on the beach every day and make sure that so I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
And again, right now, chilling out is not at the top of my list. And again, because of everything that's going on,
Uh-huh.
it's got stuff's got to get done. So chilling out isn't there just yet. However, I make sure that I have the little things, even if it's 20 minutes to myself, walk on the beach. I like to be in my bare feet. I like
Mm-hmm.
to go for a walk in a park or go to the beach, get in the water. Stretching. I've really come to enjoy stretching, which for someone who's a weightlifter and has been a strongman,
Mm-hmm.
that's foreign. That's very foreign. So I've come to enjoy that. And I do. I train every day. I go to the gym. And that's a little bit of switch off time as well, mentally.
Excellent.
So there's some of the things. And again, that will vary. I've done things before, like go to a silent retreat and spend a
Mm-hmm.
couple of days in a room with no technology, just a pen and a paper, not even a clock. Um, and that's got different reasons why I do that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll take a bit of time out and I'll meditate. Again,
Mm-hmm.
some people who maybe don't know what meditating is and what it does, go look it up. But I have found that relaxing. So there's various things I do, and I just make sure I do something. Just have that little bit of time to myself every day.
Excellent. Excellent. Those are small little things, and I'm trying to, process them in my mind. And what I realize is, at the end of the day, it is again constructive, whatever that you're doing to chill out also. And that actually is, and when you said the silent retreat kind of thing, so I was, a consultant sometime back in the northeast part of India, and we do have places where they do this silent retreat thing, where you just with the nature, you just maybe strolling around, trekking, and everything is very very aboriginal kind, and that really does a lot of difference. That to one's personality. So I know you are a success story actually, and there must be a lot of things that you must have changed from the times that you know you had difficulties coming your way. But if you had
Hmm.
to think, and I know it's too early in your life to ask you this, but still, there would be people
Sure.
who would be looking up to you, a lot of entrepreneurs who would be listening to this, would want to know if you had to pinpoint one aspect that has made all the difference, what would it be?
Stop caring what other people think.
Okay, great.
It's like a noose around your neck, and it will kill all your dreams and your hopes and your desires. The most valuable place in the whole world is the graveyard, because that's where all those ideas and dreams and wishes that you should have done end up getting buried. Um, so really, like, and I don't mean it to be disrespectful, but just and there, look, there's lots of different ways you can cut this up, but just stop caring what other people think, right?
Right.
Um, First of all, as I said earlier, they generally don't care what's happening to you. When
Mm-hmm.
something bad happens, they're just happy it's happening to you and not them. If people aren't part of your solution, they're part of your problem. And if they're
Mm-hmm.
not on the way to where you want to go, they're in your way. Okay? It's
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that. I had somebody recently, I liked them, they're a nice person, but
Mm-hmm.
they were trying to give me advice on the likes of business. And like,
Mm-hmm.
no offense, maybe something they had to say had value, but the thing is, if imagine I'm giving myself this advice 5 years ago. Well, if you know so well, why aren't you in that position? It's like me giving Bill Gates advice on Microsoft and software. It's like, look, if I know it, why am I there? So it's just we surround ourselves with, again, a need to oblige people, I think,
Okay.
out of a sense of social
Mm-hmm.
customs, and
Mm-hmm.
different cultures will have that in various degrees.
Mm-hmm.
But look, it's just horrible. I've seen the effects of it. I've seen people who always wanted to travel and they never did because they felt they
Mm-hmm.
had to take care of their mother or their father.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen people, who are gay and they get married to women or men or whichever way it is,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, why would you live a life that's not meant for you? Like, you will fail living a life that's not meant for you. You might fail pursuing one that has meaning, but at least
Mm-hmm.
you pursued that one, you
Very
know?
true.
So stop, just forget about what other people think. Because you're not going to keep everybody happy. It's
Very
not
true.
going to work. You will expend all your energy, you will burn yourself out, and you'll just do this one exercise. I did this. Go to like a care home
Mm-hmm.
where there's old age people
Mm-hmm.
and just have a conversation with them. Ask them things like, what has made you happy? Is there anything you would do differently? And I'm telling you, the one thing I got to hear so much was, I wish I would never have been so concerned with what people think. Stayed married when they should have divorced, unhappy, didn't travel, blah, 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 blah. You
Mm-hmm.
just go and be you, okay?
Good.
Because you will find the people that are meant for you, like I have. Like, it is lonely at the top. That's what
Very
they
true.
say. I'm not
Very
saying I'm
true.
at the top quite
Mm-hmm.
yet, but what I'm saying is, I actually heard a great expression. I mean, they say it's lonely on the top. I think that's why a Bugatti has 2 seats and a bus has 50.
Very
You
true.
know, um,
That's a
look, what
lovely
I'm
one.
just saying is, yeah. So look, it's not easy. This path is not easy. Being you is not easy. There is safety in numbers. There's comfort in the comfort zone. And it's not maybe for everybody, but it will be you arriving at the end of your life with untapped potential. And Socrates said this, and that's going back a long time, and it's still true today, that is the greatest waste of human potential. So
Mm-hmm.
there's got to be something to it. And again,
Absolutely.
success leaves clues. It is not an accident that everybody, at least that I consider successful, in my opinion, that they come out with the same thing. It's the same thing from every part of the world to every different culture, religion, demographic, race, and creed. So
Mhm.
there's got to be something to it.
Absolutely. So I'm very sure when I would, listen to this again, I think I could write a long essay on what all is my takeaway from here. But yes, I
Hmm.
would want you to tell us more about the project that you're involved with now, and if people have to join you, how do they do that, and where can they find you?
Okay, so again, on different interviews, I've been asked this question, and I'm going to start answering this the same way.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, and I mean this politely, but the great thing about my position is because it's a business that operates on a couple of different levels, I don't need to sell anybody anything. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if you do or you don't. It's not my stick. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So I have a trilogy of books that are coming out,
Mm-hmm.
and I have an online academy
Okay.
where if certain people, I do a psychometric test, and if it
Okay.
works out and the process is a good fit, I
Mm-hmm.
teach people the tools and the methods that I used to get from where I was to
Mm-hmm.
getting my business up off the ground.
Okay.
And I went through a lot of different courses and processes and associations and people, and I learned what worked and what didn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I've done pretty good for myself with it. So I teach that to people that are looking to make the same changes. But an important thing that I came to recognize,
Mm-hmm.
like religion, one fit doesn't suit everybody. You got different ones.
Very true.
So that was where I brought in the psychometric testing to make sure that the demographics, the psychographics, and all the different factors that contribute towards what is and isn't successful with what I do, I found that very important to bring in because at
Mm-hmm.
least that rules out people that I'm not a good fit for, and then they're
Mm-hmm.
not disillusioned and so on. So that's one thing. Is I got the online academy, we got the books that are coming out, and I've got a couple of speaking engagements that are being brought in to talk at corporate levels and with private events. So all of that can be found. All of my contact information, my course information, my podcasts, my social media, everything can be found at Going the Ultra Mile. That's the name of my brand. So Going the Ultra Mile, and that's the name of every platform, all of them: LinkedIn,
Mm-hmm.
Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TubeBook, Facebook, FaceTube, whatever they're all called. They're all there. And goingtheultramile.net takes you to my webpage. So again, you can contact me via
Great.
the contact lists that are very easily visible on any of those platforms.
So all those who are listening and watching, you know where to, you know, contact Keelan. But remember, you have to be the right fit for him to accept you for that. So it was a lovely, lovely chat that we had, Keelan, and wish we could go on and on. But then yes, we would leave certain things for a better time, in future. It was my pleasure again having you, and I do acknowledge you taking out this precious time of yours and spending some time with us to and I'm very sure that listeners around here in this part of the subcontinent would certainly derive lot of value from this conversation that we've just had. So summing up, what comes to my mind is it's all about your beliefs, your mindset, your approach, your attitude, and like I keep saying, what you can control and change is you. That is the first thing that you need to do. So there is a lot of learning which comes around. You have to keep growing, like Keelan said. You have to keep teaching. You have to be in the right company. You have to attract right kind of people, and that can only happen when you follow certain discipline, and that mental toughness doesn't come easy. I'm very sure that all those who are listening and watching us have certainly gotten the value for their time. So keep watching this space. We shall be back with you with another interesting guest, with another interesting composition, and another interesting conversation. And I am sure that Keelan has enjoyed his company with me as I have enjoyed his. So thank you again. And would you like to say something to the listeners in this part of the world, all those who are listening to you and watching you?
Um, First of all, thank you for having me on. I appreciate if you feel I've contributed some value.
Oh, certainly.
And remember, there's never an easy time to make a hard decision.
Hmm. Excellent, excellent. So with that, we come to a halt, and that's about it from the Happiness How with Vinko Chow. And continue to, eat well, exercise, continue to build your immunity, and get that mindset right. This needs to be tough here. So while we do that, and we meet you the next time. It's bye bye from me, Wing Commander Satyendra Chauhan, aka Wing Chow from Bangalore, and Kealan Harrington from Australia. And we wish that very soon he joins his son and his family back at home and is certainly in touch with us. And I know we are going places. All right, then. See you all and have a great day. Bye bye.